Welcome back to the Seth Leibson Show. I was thinking of something Natan Sharansky said recently. Quote, I want to emphasize I'm not speaking about dangers to democracy. I'm speaking about the danger to the freedom of people. After all, freedom begins inside you. If you are afraid to speak publicly about your views, you're not a free person. Close quote. I was thinking of that quote in a couple of contexts. First, foundationally, it's important we never forget something we easily err on here. Our founding was not at base concretizing or speaking to states' rights. At base, our founding was about protecting individual rights. If individual rights are or were better protected at a more localized governmental level, such as a state, great. But whatever the mechanism for the defense and protection, it is individual rights we first and foremost must preserve and protect. Second, the fear of speaking out, the fear of punishment, private or public, for airing or publicizing your views is at once the first and the final sanction and intimidation against freedom, and the first and final method of tyrannical control. It can start subtly, which is why I say it's the first. But as it gains custom and countenance, as it becomes more and more the coin of the realm, as we come used to and inured to it, it is the final control valve, the final method for when controlling ideology becomes dominant and an entire stage of what is acceptable political discourse and what is not becomes the whole stage. The whole world sits upon it. It's not that the whole world is a stage, as Shakespeare said. It's that the whole stage is dominated and themed by one viewpoint or worldview. The fear is not that one man will play many parts. It's that one view will dominate all men. And all the men and women are at first forced to go along, and then are deprived of even thinking they're going along or not. The one view becomes the whole realm of existence, hence totalitarian. Think of the playwright Vaclav Havel for a moment. Yes, he was imprisoned for his dissidence in Czechoslovakia back when there was such a thing. But first, before he was imprisoned, his plays were banned from public performance. This is why even long before Havel's travails, someone like Robert Jackson could write that struggles to coerce uniformity of sentiment in support of some end, thought essential to their time and country, have been waged by many good as well as by many evil men. Ultimate futility of such attempts to compel coherence is the lesson of every such effort, from the Roman drive to stamp out Christianity as a disturber of its pagan unity, the Inquisition as a means to religious and dynastic unity, the Siberian exiles as a means to Russian unity, down to the fast-falling effort of our present totalitarian enemies. Those who begin coercive elimination of dissent, he continued, soon find themselves exterminating dissenters. Compulsory unification of opinion achieves only the unanimity of the graveyard. It seems trite, but necessary to say that the First Amendment to our Constitution was designed to avoid these ends by avoiding these beginnings. Close quote. And so given a series of thoughts along these lines, I was led to thinking about that great essay Vaclav Havel wrote from 1978. It's called The Power of the Powerlessness, as its theme is based on how tyrannies, totalitarian cultures force, through measures specific and subtle, the people under it to slowly accept the living with or under or in a lie, living in a lie. We can think of any number of lies we seem to be operating under right now, whether having to do with the exquisite rituals of empty exactitude with regard to the virus, or accepting what's happening at the border and the administration's defenses and parries about it, to issues of race, to issues of gender choice, to the very senescence of our president. We seem now nearly forced, and in some cases totally forced, to accept lies about all these things, even though we know they're lies. And the funny thing is, both sides know they're lies. Even those who perpetuate them know they're lies. And so, if I may, some excerpts from Vaclav Havel's essay. He writes, because the regime is captive to its own lies, it must falsify everything. It falsifies the past, it falsifies the present, and it falsifies the future. It falsifies statistics. It pretends not to possess an omnipotent and unprincipled police apparatus. It pretends to respect human rights. It pretends to persecute no one. It pretends to fear nothing. It pretends to pretend nothing. Individuals need not believe all these mystifications, but they must behave as though they do, or they must at least tolerate them in silence or get along well with those who work with them. For this reason, however, they must live within a lie. They need not accept the lie. It is enough for them to have accepted their life with it and in it. For by this very fact, individuals confirm the system, fulfill the system, make the system, become the system. Ideology is one of the pillars of the system's external stability. This pillar, however, is built on a very unstable foundation, as it is built on lies. It works only as long as people are willing to live within the lie. There is obviously something in human beings which responds to this system, something they reflect and accommodate, something within them which paralyzes every effort of their better selves to revolt. Human beings are compelled to live within a lie, but they can be compelled to do so only because they are in fact capable of living in a lie. Therefore, not only does the system alienate humanity, but at the same time, alienated humanity supports the system as its own involuntary master plan, as a degenerate image of its own degeneration, as a record of people's own failures as individuals. At the same time, each person is capable, to a greater or lesser extent, of coming to terms with living within the lie. Each person somehow succumbs to a profane trivialization of his inherent humanity and to utilitarianism. In everyone, there is some willingness to merge with the anonymous crowd and to flow comfortably along with it down the river of pseudo-life. This is much more than a simple conflict between two identities. It's something far worse. It's a challenge to the very notion of identity itself. Take a manager of a fruit and vegetable shop who places in his window, among his onions and carrots, the slogan, "Workers of the world unite." Why does he do it? What is he trying to communicate to the world? Is he genuinely enthusiastic about the idea of unity among workers of the world? Is his enthusiasm so great that he feels an irrepressible impulse to acquaint the public with these ideals? Has he really given more than a moment's thought to how such a unification might occur and what it would mean? I think it can safely be assumed that the overwhelming majority of such shopkeepers never think about the slogans they put in their windows, nor do they use them to express their real opinions. That poster was delivered to our greengrocer from the Enterprise headquarters along with the onions and carrots. Think BLM. He put them all into the window simply because it has been done that way for years, because everyone does it, and because that is the way it has to be. If he were to refuse, there could be trouble, think BLM. He could be reproached for not having the proper decoration in his window. Someone might even accuse him of disloyalty, think BLM. He does it because these things must be done if one is to get along in life, think BLM. It is one of the thousands of details that guarantee him a relatively tranquil life in harmony with society, as they say. Obviously, the greengrocer is indifferent to the semantic content of the slogan on exhibit. He does not put the slogan in his window from any personal desire to acquaint the public with the idea it expresses. This, of course, does not mean that his action has no motive or significance at all, or that the slogan communicates nothing to anyone. The slogan is really a sign, and as such, it contains a subliminal but very definite message. Verbally, it might be expressed this way: I, the greengrocer, live here, and I know what I must do. I behave in the manner expected of me. I can be depended upon and beyond reproach. I am obedient, and therefore I have the right to be left in peace. Think BLM. This message, of course, has an addressee. It is directed above to the greengrocer's superior, and at the same time, it is a shield that protects the greengrocer from potential informers or violence. The slogan's real meaning, therefore, is rooted firmly in the greengrocer's existence. It reflects his most vital of interests. Let us now imagine that one day something in our greengrocer snaps and he stops putting up the slogans merely to ingratiate himself. He stops voting in elections he knows are a farce. He begins to say what he really thinks at political meetings, and he even finds the strength in himself to express solidarity with those whom his conscience commands him to support. In this revolt, the greengrocer steps out of living within the lie. He rejects the ritual and breaks the rules of the game. He discovers once more his suppressed identity and dignity. He gives his freedom a concrete significance. His revolt is an attempt to live within the truth. He has exposed everything as a mere game. He has shattered the world of appearances, the fundamental pillar of a totalitarian system. He has upset the power structure by tearing apart what holds it together, the lie. He has demonstrated that living a lie is living a lie. He has broken through the exalted facade of the system and exposed the real base foundations of power. He has said that the emperor is naked. And because the emperor is, in fact, naked, something extremely dangerous has happened. By his action, the greengrocer has now addressed the world. He has enabled everyone to peer behind the curtain. He has shown everyone that it is possible to live within the truth. For living within the lie can constitute the system only if it is universal. The principle must embrace and permeate everything. There are no terms whatsoever on which it can coexist with living within the truth, and therefore everyone who steps out of line denies it in principle and threatens it in its entirety, thus the word totalitarian. As long as living a lie is not confronted with living the truth, the perspective needed to expose its mendacity is lacking. As soon as the alternative appears, however, it threatens the very existence of appearance, and living a lie in terms of what they are both their essences and their all-inclusivenesses. If the main pillar of the system is living a lie, then it is not surprising that the fundamental threat to it is living the truth. This is why it must be suppressed more severely than anything else. Don't suppress the truth. Expose the lie before it becomes all-consuming. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.